All right, guys, I'm gonna break down the rest of this, but before I do, and this next bit I'm gonna do, this is stuff people have been begging for. So when you see it, you're gonna love it. A lot of you are gonna be grinning ear to ear. And so nobody's saying on this, but this is the kind of power that you have now that you may or may not have thought about. Since you can do this kind of a combination, okay, domain, and then you have a slash, and effectively it would be like this. Okay, menu, this is what you can do now in terms of real organization. You could have http colon slash slash forklifts, if that's your thing. Maybe it's even industrial. You can do it. You can use dashes with multiple words as part of the domain, not domain.com or net or whatever it is. Okay, but let's say now what I wanted to do was create subsections within that. In other words, this is already a subsection of my website that deals with industrial forklifts. I could have another one be for Mother's Day flowers. What I mean is that Google will consider your site much more seriously with this kind of organization. It will see your site as more of a huge directory of projects like this. And that's good because they're not just all mixed and matched in folder structures right next to each other. It's a little bit different than this. Let me just step back long enough to make this point. Control X. Okay. And it would be like that. And then and then you have all your folders in there. And then next to it, you would have like this. Okay, well, when Google's trying to figure out what your website is about, this and this don't have much to do with each other, so it has a lot of trouble understanding your website. But if you had a version like this, okay, this looks a lot more clear to Google. It can kind of see these as different parts of your website. That makes your website seem more like a directory of projects and be a lot more interesting to Google. You can rank much better this way with this kind of organization. And within that level of organization, here's what I really want to point out. This is where you can now play with the biggest of big boys. You can sit down at their table. The biggest, most developed guys out there might have something like this. And then they have organized sub projects. It might be like 5-ton dash forklifts. Okay, and what do you think the next one would be? That's for all their 5-ton forklift projects, and then this one could be their 10-ton. Okay, like that, and it could go on from there. So this could be the 15-ton, that could be the 20-ton, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then you can do the same kind of thing with your Mother's Day flowers. I don't know the names of flowers. Tulips. Okay, and then you could have another one for roses. Somebody asked, can you do this? And that's awesome. I mean, this kind of power allows you to create as much organization as anyone ever creates. How do you pull that off? Well, that's kind of easy. This part here is obviously the domain, right? This whole first section here is the domain. This is from the menu where on your CSV file, that would go along with your root. So you have to have a root. Always, if you have a menu, put a root. And you may as well just remember to do them together. It really doesn't matter what the order is. Root can be anywhere in the stack of things that we could have in here. But that's just an easy way to remember. But then what can you do? You can have your copy. I could have my 5-ton forklifts, my 10-ton, my 15-ton, my 20-ton, like that, right? 10, 15, 20. And that way, I can actually create pages this way. Now, what that does mean is on my links, in my menu links, and you guys are familiar with this with the placeholder project, okay? Then I'm going to want like my 5 tons, I'm going to want that here, okay? And then I want my 10-ton, I want that like here. Paste, and that allows me to have a menu on my page where I have a link for the 5-ton, a link for the 10, a link for the 15, a link for the 20, physically on the page. Okay, and that's simple because on your page you just need to link to each of these things, right? And that's how it works. Really, you just build the links so they make sense. Domain slash var 9002, domain slash var 9003. Okay, and that works completely easily now, right? So you can do that, and then with your Mother's Day flowers, it could be tulips, roses, and whatever else for Mother's Day flowers. Okay, kind of ashamed to admit I don't know the names of many flowers, but we had somebody ask, "Can you do this kind of a thing? Can you say roses dot Mother's Day flowers, or even just flowers? Let me, so I can get done typing this, domain.org. Can you do that? I don't know. You can try it. If so, then it would be the domain, right? And then if you still want to menu past that, I don't know what kind of roses there are. White roses, right? And then you could have red roses, yellow roses, green, blue, purple, pink, whatever else. You may be able to pull that off. Do I really see a lot of power in that out there? No, I don't even see anybody hardly ever using it, and I'm not even sure if it's really value add or not. But can you test it? Yes. Can you find out the answers? Yes. And if you do, please let me know. It's always interesting to see what people come up with, and sometimes they come up with some of the most extraordinary things. Can you even set this up in your HostMonster account, this kind of a relationship up? I don't know. Never tried. Never did try. Physically, I just never see results like this in Google results where it makes any real sense to me. And how this would relate to the folder structure, which you use for your FTP calls, I don't know. So you can figure it out and let me know, but it might be doable. It's just, I frankly don't see any value in that. I think this already is huge and powerful, and as much organization as people do, and you now have the ability to create that organization automatically. Not just that, all your sitemaps and everything are going to work out perfectly well. All right, now that I'm done going through that, here comes the fun part. I'm going to crack my knuckles and start actually producing some files and showing you how this stuff works online with the sitemaps, because that's a big part that people were always wondering about, the sitemap interlinkage and everything. And also, remember how everybody was asking for creating one .txt file with all the URLs from a given run in one file, so that we can easily take that one list and ping it or upload it to Google WebMasters or both. We have that now. And so it's just really, really cool and easy for you to get to anytime you want. It's so awesome. So we're going to actually run that out. And where we're going to start, in order to see how that works, and IE is IE, here we go. I've got MOWG-Pro.com. As you remember, I said that was the main domain on the account. Then I had MOWG-Pro.com, which is a subdomain on the same account. And I just slapped the page up. It's not even cleaned up very well because I just did it for this example so you can see how this thing works. Okay, so if I go to the bottom of this page, I made sure that my related links down here points to a page called MOWG-Sitemap.html. And that's what I mean. MOWG-sitemap.html. That's a magic name. You're going to want to have some link to the root of your domain. It's going to be in the root always, and it's going to be MOWG-sitemap.html. You're going to want to include this on your page somewhere, just like I did here. And the way it looks in the coding, for those who are still trying to get used to the coding, if I scroll down on the coding and take a look, that's it. I have just copyright and then a couple of spaces, and then I have my ahref tag, and the target is blank, so it opens in a new window. And then I've just got some font size is smaller, it's -1, one size less than the standard default. The color is light, it's out of the way, and the wording is related links, and that way I can end my font and end my link. Okay, that's it. That's kind of how that works, and most of you guys are really comfortable with this by now. You've done this a lot, or you do this a lot, and you just know how all that works. Okay, so I have a link to my MOWG-sitemap.html. Does it need to be right off of my index page for real? No. First of all, did it have to be at the bottom of the page? No, it could be anywhere on the page, but somewhere. You're not doing this for humans to see so much as you're doing it for the robots to see. So it should be kind of out of the way. It does not have to be on your main page. It could be on this page or that page or that page. It's just got to be on something. It could even be on any one of these pages as long as you don't overwrite the main page later and get it lost somehow, right? Make sure that the index page, the main page, or some page that you're not going to mess with later on your website, or if you do mess with it, just make sure to keep that link in. That's all. Some page has a link to the MOWG-Sitemap.html for the robots. This is absolutely huge, and you'll see why soon. So MOWG-Pro.com, the exact same thing now. It's got a link to the MOWG-Sitemap.html as well. It's MOWG-Pro.com / right there in the root, MOWG-Sitemap.html. So no matter where you put that link on any page, as long as it points to the root, it's just got to point to that exact link. Okay, that one. You know, whatever it is for your domain, it's got to end that way. Then it's going to be connected. Now, I don't have one up yet, right? That's the point. When I click these things, it's showing nothing found. I wanted it that way, so we're pretending that we're doing our very first run, and we're going to see what MOWG Pro does for us now when we do these runs and how it works with all these sitemaps, so you can see that you don't have to touch sitemaps anymore. Once you stick that MOWG-sitemap.html link on some main page of your site, all of your sitemaps forevermore on that domain will completely take care of themselves. Every page of your website will be interlinked properly. If you do new runs that make the old sitemaps become sitemap 1, sitemap 2, sitemap 3.html, all of those will remain intact. You will not get any orphan sitemap links ever again. So the robots will find all your pages every time you do runs. You don't have to worry about old sitemap links getting broken anymore. And that's what we're going to do when we put some of these pages up and you can physically see it. So that's what we're about to do right now, and I'll just show you how this thing works. And in the process of showing you how it works, I'll also show you how the .txt version works for the one page that has all your links for that run by run. So you can easily ping as you go. You can easily upload to Google WebMasters without having to upload 50 different menu sitemaps. And the greatest advantage for all of you is those of you who've always wanted to create really long menus because it's good for you. It's really good for the strength of your pages to have them organized in this sort of an order. Okay, to have more of these is always better. But you said, well, that creates a sitemap, that creates another one, that creates another one, that creates another one. Do I really need to upload all of them to Google? And we said, no, just upload the root and the bots will find the rest. Nonetheless, now all of these are going to show up on one sitemap file as a .txt, so you can submit it to Google or you can ping it. And that means you now can feel free to create all these without feeling like you're creating work for yourself. That's just awesome. That's what we're going to do now. Okay, you ready? Okay, watch this. Let's start with some project profiles. I'm going to open one of these project profiles. That's what I'm going to do. And so we're going to open a project profile, project profiles, this one first. And guess what? Since I can do these at the same time, and that's just kind of cool, almost at the same time, except I got to make sure one gets done with the file before the other. And let me not confuse you. Ready? Let's just do it. Okay, we got this done. It's got a project. It's linking to the two vars. I made sure it's got the menu in it with the cycling menu. So there's several menu items to produce several sitemaps so you can see what's going on. And it's linking to the page that has the projects. Okay, and I'm going to process that out. It's got a menu in there. It's going to process out. So here we go. Oh yeah, var 7, that's right. I gotta refresh and save and then process. And it still thinks there's a var 7. So let me make sure there's not a var 7 in that file. I know I was playing with it. And it has var 7. Delete. Okay, save. Yes, close. Okay. Refresh the vars again. Now process. And what I really need to do is close this out because it was still using that CSV file. Yeah, normally you don't want the MOWG Pro open while you're playing around with your CSV files because it just has trouble dealing with it. All right, there we go. And that should be perfect. So next, may as well refresh files again, hit process, and there it goes. So it's going to produce 100, and I could time it 1, 1002, 1003, 1004. I know it was done by 10 seconds, and it's uploading. So while it's uploading, it no longer uses those CSV files. So I'm going to open the next one, which I can do, and I can do it right now. 3 in here. I'm going to get it going. That's the point. So it's doing what it's supposed to, and let me process that. And that way it can get started too. And you guys know this from all the earlier recordings anyway. But here we go. So it's going to be done soon, and it's going to start uploading. And we're going to see how that works. But guess what I can also do? Watch this. Let me just keep going. Let me go ahead and I'm not going to do the batches. I mean, batches are easy. You just run the batch file to do the same job, right? But subdomain profiles. Let me make sure this thing's set up the right way, because yeah, you can get all these things running at once. So let me go to the right place, subdomain profiles, MOWG Pro, and it's going to the index, and that's perfect. And there's no project tokens in there. That's why it's not indexed with project tokens. And it's going here, and it's uploading there. So next, it's got the menu. I'm going to process it. And then as soon as that's done, which will just be a handful seconds more, I'm going to do the last one. I could do it now. It's close enough. And so I'm also going to load that one in the 4 and go ahead, and it's got all the right stuff. Next, and go. And so all these are going to happen. All right. So while they're working away, I'm going to go ahead and pause. I'm going to let it finish uploading all the files it's supposed to upload, and it'll be done here in just a couple of minutes, and then I'll continue. All right, so now this one's done. They're all done, okay? So I can actually just go ahead and close these. Bam, and I got more to close. They're all done by now. Let me go ahead and close that one. Go ahead and close this one. I don't really have to be hitting save yes all the time. It doesn't really matter. I'm just teaching you the, good practices. Okay, close that one too. All right, now they're all closed. So what does that mean? That means this. Watch this. Everything's done. So let's see what happened with our sitemaps that guide us for where the pages are now. So my MOWGPro.com and my MOWG-Pro.com, let me do them one at a time. If I come here to my MOWG-sitemap.html, guess what? It now has the MOWGPro.com /internet marketing /master-sitemap.html and an internet-advertising.MOWGPro.com /master-sitemap.html. Both of these, of course, are for the same website, and that's two different master sitemaps, one for the subdomain and one for the project. If we go into our project, here we go. Those are all our sitemaps for all those subsections that we just did. There's a sitemap, has all the main root pages, and all that stuff is there. Okay? And all those links worked. I mean, it's really awesome how incredibly well this whole thing is set up now. It's just incredible. I mean, everything is so interconnected. It doesn't matter what links I hit. It's all going to completely work, And that's just awesome. Okay, and beyond that, for all these subsections, all the sitemaps there are intact too. Everything is there, and the index pages are always there for each subsection. All right, so nothing is lost so far. Okay, now when I go into my subdomain link, guess what? It's all the subdomain sections. The main one for the sitemap, which clicks right through to the main page for that subsection, except again, unless I use that var7, with the domain name on it, then I need to upload the images into that internet-advertising folder so it all connects up. or I got to use like a var7 where I have just the root, the MOWG, http://MOWGPro.com. Okay, so don't let this deter you at all. This is so easy to deal with. Either upload the folders or just create the var in the var sheet for that domain for all these folder items. It's a piece of cake either way, and it's fine with Google either way. Google expects your images to come out of one images folder. It doesn't expect you to have multiple copies of all that stuff. So it doesn't matter. Okay, all these things work. Okay, they're there. Now, that means all these sitemaps are all perfect too inside the subdomains. All right, there's our master one. This would be like forklifts.mowgpro.com slash 10-ton-forklifts, and that would be the main page of that section and all the other sub pages of that same section, right? Isn't that awesome? They're all here, and so they're all interconnected. And of course, the exact same thing now when I click on the other domain. Lest we forget, we did 2 stacks and they all connect up properly. All these things are there. Okay? And all these things are there. And even then, when we look down, there's related links pointing at all the sitemaps for that section, and it's all interconnected. It's all there. It's all set up properly. It's a piece of cake. Okay? All we had to do is use our domain.com/menu/sitemap.html at the bottom. That was it. Piece of cake. So our domain token/menu token/sitemap.html. And that's for all the related pages inside that same section. It's just awesome. So it all connects. Everything is correct. No matter how we go about it, it's all correct. Okay? Now, having said all that, completely all that, here's going to be the next question. What if we create a new batch of pages that go into the same folders? Okay? Again, what happens when the sitemaps get renamed to sitemap1.html? And, by extension, what happens when you do it again and you wind up with a sitemap2.html? All right? And before I go through that final step to show you how that works, I want to show you one more thing I almost forgot about. This is the other part that you guys have been begging for, and this is cool.